Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and today I want to ask you all a question. What makes someone worthy of receiving help, love, and support? After a recent conversation with a loved one via text this morning, I've come to the realization that there are some people who don't deem you worthy of love unless you are a broke down mess, unless you are crippled, damaged, broken in some way. They can only love and support and offer assistance to people that they deem worthy of it. It's like you don't garner a person's sympathy or their empathy when you are strong. Oftentimes, the strong friends, the strong family members, they get ignored. They're the ones who carry around just a series of invisible wounds that no one sees. No one sees, no one cares, and oftentimes their wounds get ignored. And that's because they are not deemed worthy. As I mentioned earlier, in order for you to get help, other people have to see you as this broke down, destitute person. And it's funny, like I see certain friends, right? I know that they have the capacity to offer empathy and to show care and concern, and they do that with other people. But when it comes to me, I've noticed that they handle me very differently. I get handled very differently. It's like their empathy turns off. And what I've noticed is that when you are strong, when you are good looking, when you are talented, when you are articulate, when you are intelligent, when you have multiple gifts, when people see how other people respond to you, they don't deem you worthy of support. They don't deem you worthy of assistance. You get ignored. You get overlooked. Your pain gets just disregarded and dismissed. And it's unfortunate that oftentimes, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. They have that saying. But there are people out there like myself who oftentimes we just bear up under the weight of really difficult circumstances. And we do that because we've learned early on in our lives that when you really need help and when you show that vulnerable side and you ask for help, oftentimes you are ignored. Or if you muster up the courage to become vulnerable with someone, oftentimes your vulnerability will be mocked, made fun of. You will be emasculated. Your sexual orientation will be called into question, all because you need help or because you find yourself emotional about something and you give way to tears. Oftentimes you will be seen as less than, you'll be made fun of. And so this is why a lot of us have learned to just bear up under the weight of some difficult circumstances because we realize that we will not get help when we ask. We will get ignored. And so we've learned to tuck in our wounds, hence the invisible wounds, And it's unfortunate these invisible wounds tend to not get the attention that they need to heal, as often the healers are too busy helping those who they deem worthy of assistance. And it's usually people that are destitute. We live in a world where you are either incredibly rich or you are poor and you qualify for various services, but the middle class, the ones who are actually striving and scrimping and saving and working their hardest to try to keep their heads above water, they're given no help because society does not deem them worthy of support. People like me are the middle class survivors. We're the middle class survivors. We're the ones who have to just find a way, because we are not given that care, that concern. We are the middle class survivors. That's what I'm going to call us from now on. Middle class survivors are people who oftentimes get overlooked because they don't look like your typical victim. They don't look like your typical broken person, you know? So they are deemed not worthy of help, you know? And I always ask myself, what criteria determines who gets help? I guess who gets help determines on the person helping. They have to see the legitimacy of someone's need, right? And oftentimes with strong people, you don't see the legitimacy of their needs. You don't see that they don't look like people that need. They look like they have everything together. You know why they look like they have everything together? Because they've learned how people get treated when they don't have everything together. So they put on this mask of togetherness. They put on this veneer, and it's almost a shield. It's a shield that we middle class survivors have to wear. We have to put on this shield so that way we won't get shamed and criticized and disregarded and treated like less than. You know, truth be told, a lot of people in this world suffer from broken wing syndrome. They gravitate towards those who are damaged in some way, who are broken. And I now realize that in some cases, not all, in some cases, this speaks more to a person's need for control, power, and domination. They need to maintain a semblance of control. So by dealing with these broke down messes, it makes them feel in control by comparison. But when you are independent, when you are strong, when you actually fight to keep yourself afloat, other people don't see your needs. They, in fact, they are threatened by you. They're threatened by you, and people who are threatened by your existence will never offer you the assistance that you need. I'll say that again. People that are threatened by your existence will never offer you the assistance that you need. Let's look at medical racism. Oftentimes, the pain of black women is not believed by white doctors. They go in there letting the doctor know that I'm in pain, and the doctor has a bias that only sees these women as coming into the doctor's office for secondary gain, for medications, for more pain meds. They don't see their pain as legitimate. And that's because they're black women. But I bet you if a white woman came in there complaining about her pain, she would get the proper care and medications. You know? Because once again, in order for us middle class survivors to get care that we need, we oftentimes have to perform being destitute. We have to submit to the belief of someone else. We have to make sure that they believe our pain, you know? And it's just ridiculous, you know? It's really ridiculous. And I realize that sick always gets more attention than well. If you are sick, you get more of the attention. And it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I really had to pose this question tonight because I'm wondering, why is it that in order for someone to be deemed worthy of love, support, and help, they have to be these broke down messes? You know? I remember, and this applies to myself too, because I made the mistake of minimizing people's pain when I was working as an EAP counselor. I used to see these people come in and they had such good jobs and they had such wonderful lives, it seemed, but they had issues and problems. You know, we call them the worried well, you know? and they had these issues that were causing them significant distress, but I would oftentimes minimize their pain and wonder why they were even in my office. It seemed like they had everything. They had money, they had family, they had love, but yet and still they were not happy. There was always something that was missing. And I would listen to them and I would fight back the urge to just look at them like, are you serious? You have everything. I didn't know at the time that what they were missing was causing them significant distress, and that's why they needed the help. What was missing was my empathy for the fact that they were doing this for so long, trying to survive, till it got to the point where it became too much and they exhausted their pre-existing coping skills, and so they needed another perspective. They needed another toolbox, another tool in their box in order for them to be able to cope. But I'm guilty of the same thing. I would look at these people and I would be like, what's wrong with them? They didn't seem like they were worthy of my help. You know, and I realized that that's what we do with people. We listen to their problems, we look at them, and then we make judgments, these snap judgments on whether or not they are worthy of love, care, and support. Whether they're worthy of our empathy. And that's a mistake. And I had to correct myself. After talking with a supervisor, I had to definitely correct myself and really acknowledge that these people are suffering. They're suffering. And even when their wounds don't look like we feel they should, there's still wounds there. There's still hurt. There's still pain there. You know, so they need support. They need that love. They need that reassurance. They need that building up. Because a lot of times people are just being held together by duct tape and Holy Spirit. Let's be honest. A lot of us, especially the middle class survivors, we are being held together by duct tape and Holy Spirit. We really are. And so we need some reinforcement. We need someone to see into our wounds. We need that intimacy with our wounding. Not someone who's going to dismiss, disregard, minimize our suffering. You know, I've dealt with family members who they struggle with the broken wing syndrome. They can only love addicts and people with mental health issues and people who are in some way, shape, or form damaged individuals. They can love them. They need people to need them. That's another thing. What does that say about somebody, though? What does that say about someone that always needs someone to need them? It says that they struggle with the fear of abandonment. It says that they have power and control issues. They want to always make sure that the person is in a state of need, so that way they won't leave. That is a person that struggles with deep, deep abandonment issues. Trust issues, just issues. And can I understand it? Can I empathize with people wanting someone to not leave them? Of course, I empathize with it. But at the same time, always attracting people who need you will cause you to attract people that don't really see who you are, don't really acknowledge your needs, because they're so used to you taking care of their needs. They don't see you as human, right? They always see you as a person that's going to always mother them, take care of their needs. So this is what happens, you know? I remember one of my family members, they were dating a man who was abusive. And I told them the reason why I didn't want them to continue dating this person was because I feared that if they ever got into a situation where they needed someone, that person would not be there for them because they're so used to that person. They're so used to my family member taking care of their needs that it'll be a shock to their system should my family member ever fall into a crisis. They won't be able to handle the fact because the dynamic has already been set up where it makes one person the rose and another person the gardener. They've been typecast in these roles where the gardener always has to water and take care of the rose. No, if you are in a relationship where you are the rose or you are the gardener and there's no interchange of roles, you're in the wrong relationship. I'm going to tell you that right now because my thing is this. It's going to come a point where you are going to be typecast in either role. So if you are the gardener, you're going to always be expected to take care of the rose. You're going to also begin to see the rose as less than. You're going to also begin to perceive them as subpar or broken or damaged, and it's going to affect how you relate to them. Now, if you identify as the rose, always expecting someone to take care of you, you're basically just going to expect that from everyone. You're never going to reciprocate. You're always going to expect to be taken care of. And oftentimes people are going to get sick of that. They're going to label you as selfish. And it is selfish. Always expecting someone to water you, to invest in you, to fertilize your needs. No, it's selfish. It's selfish. And so my thing is this. We need to begin to really, really, really see humanity in all its forms. We need to realize that the invisible wounds that we don't see in someone still exist. Just because you do not see a wound does not mean that it does not exist. They have an ancient saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, doesn't make a sound, And I say, yeah, it does make a sound. Yeah, to answer that question, yeah, it does make a sound. And the same applies to wounds. Even if nobody is there to see your wounding, that does not make it any less real. That does not make your pain any less valid. And my thing is this, it's definitely up to us to communicate what hurts, truth, but we can't control how other people believe us or how much other people believe us. We can't control if they perceive our pain as legitimate. Because to be honest, in order for them to offer that assistance, they have to see our pain as legitimate. And we can't control that. I can't control you believing me without me trying to audition for your support, without me always trying to perform for your love. No. I realize that many of us are out here in relationships and with family members who we have to always perform for their love. We have to perform for their support. We have to perform for their belief. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. You should never have to audition for care, love, and support. It's ridiculous. You should be naturally believed when you tell people that something hurts, or even when you don't articulate that, but your actions articulate that. And men, oftentimes, we struggle with communication. We are not very good at communicating our wounding. We're not very good at communicating what hurts. But at the same time, we hurt. We hurt. And just because nobody deems us worthy of that support, just because they don't believe our pain, that doesn't make us any less deserving of love. We still need love. We still need that support without it costing us our dignity. And oftentimes it does cost us our dignity. And that's why I had to make this video, because there are so many people out here who are strong and they're getting their needs ignored because no one deems them worthy of support. They say, well, you got a house and you got a husband and you got a wife and you got a kid and you got money and you got a good job. What makes you worthy? You don't fit into my definition of need. You know, in order for you to receive that assistance, you have to fit into somebody's definition of need. You have to look like you need help. And not everybody looks like they need help. That's the thing. Not everybody looks like what they've been through. And if you don't look like what you've been through in this world, you will get ignored. Your needs will be shirked to the side and you will be ignored. And that to me that's ridiculous. So me personally, I'm getting better at learning how to communicate what hurts. There are some times when I struggle with doing that because it's not safe to. I know that certain people in my life, they have the capacity to provide care and support. I know that they do because I've seen them do it with other people. But with me, they seem to be handicapped when it comes to offering that love and support. And that's because they're threatened. That's because they see me as a threat. They see the way that I look, they see the way that I talk, they see that my intelligence, and so they get scared. You know? They get scared, so you can't offer support to people that you're scared of. You can't offer support when there's a bias there. And we see that every single day, especially with Black patients and white providers. They can't offer genuine support to us because they're too busy afraid of us. They have a bias and this false beliefs about who we are, so they can't offer quality care. So my thing is this: if you are a person out there and you want to offer support, stop only offering support to people that look broken and needy and destitute. Begin to search and seek out those people who are strong, but also need some reinforcements because they too need that love. They too need that support, that validation, that care and concern. They have that saying, check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends. Make sure that they are okay. Make sure that they are thriving. Because honestly, nobody else checks in on them. They're too busy thinking that they got everything under control, that they don't realize that these people are really suffering inside. And so please, check on your strong friends. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Peace.